So here we are given three graphs of f of x, and then we want to find the sign of the first derivative and the second derivative. And we notice that it says the derivative is either positive or negative everywhere. That just means we don't have to take care of its and if it's greater than or equal. For the first function, you notice that there is no slope, it is just a constant, therefore the first derivative is 0. And we all notice here there's no concavity, it's not concaving up or down, therefore the second derivative is 0. For the second slope, we notice that the slope here is constant, but also negative. Therefore, the first derivative is negative. Again, we don't notice any concavity here, therefore the second derivative is 0. For the last graph here, we notice that the slope is negative and also is changing to be more and more negative. That just means that the first derivative is negative. And then for the second derivative, it's negative because it's concaving down. So here what we are giving, it's the first derivative graph, and we want to find where it's the greatest least point of the function, the first derivative, and the second derivative. So let's do that. So f of x will be greatest where we have to remember the rule where it says f prime is positive when f is increasing. We notice here the first derivative graph, it's all above the x-axis, which means it's all positive. From this rule, it's mean that the function f it's increasing. So the last point will be our answer, which will be the greatest point. So x of x6 will be the greatest, and the lowest will be the first point, which is x1. Again, why? Because the graph it's increasing. For b, we are giving the first derivative, so we just look at the graph and see where are these values. So we notice at the peak this is the greatest point, and here at the lowest point is the least point for the first derivative. Again, this is the first derivative graph and not the function itself. Now, where is the greatest and lowest point of the second derivative? What we have to think about here, since we are giving the first derivative, we think as the second derivative is just the derivative of the first. So we think in terms of the slope. So it's gonna be greatest where we have the most or the steepest positive slope, and that's gonna be at x is 6. And then the second derivative will be the least when the slope is the most negative, and that will be where concavity changes, which is at the inflection point at x4.